What's up everyone, it's your boy Blue here at Blue Bears Games, and today's video will be my upgrade guide for the Modern Horizons 3 Eldrazi Incursion Commander precon. Before I get to today's video, I want to first take a moment to ask for your help in supporting my channel. The easiest and cheapest ways to show your support are by liking my videos, subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet, sharing any of my content on your socials, and or by watching some of my many other videos that I've created over the years. Additionally, you can support the channel by purchasing Super Thanks, channel memberships, decks that you may have seen on the channel directly from me on the Blue Bears Games Facebook page, and or visiting our sponsor, Arcane Fortress, by using the link that just popped up at the top of your screen and purchasing any of their amazing gaming supplies from them. By using that link specifically, you should receive a 5% discount store-wide. And finally, the last thing you can possibly do to help the channel out is through donations of extra cards that you may have just lying around. Even your bulkiest of bulk will help immensely, so if you'd like to donate to the channel, please message me on the Blue Bears Games Facebook page or email me at bluebearsgames@gmail.com and we can discuss the logistics of how. Anything you can do to help support my small channel is greatly appreciated, and I thank you for it. Now with that out of the way, let's begin. For my guides, I start by showing you the cards that I would recommend removing first. Then, I show you the cards that I would add back in that I believe will help make the deck either more fun to play a little better, or hopefully both. If you watched the unboxing video, you know that I had to make a decision as to whom I wanted to helm the deck, because that would determine the direction that I would take for this guide. The decision was to either keep Ulalek and focus on trying to stack triggers, or change it to Azlask and focus on a token-making theme that would go wide. Both options give us an opportunity to use some of the less used Eldrazi because we actually have access to color, which is weird when it comes to Eldrazi, so that didn't influence my decision. Ulalek seems to follow a more traditional Eldrazi game plan of ramp into Eldrazi big boys, while Azlask likes to use some of the smaller Eldrazi and create a horde of the smallest Eldrazi that exist. The latter is quite different for Eldrazi in Commander, so of course that's the direction I decided to take. So, we have a winner. Azlask is who I'll be using to helm the deck for this guide. Since there weren't a lot of cards that created either spawns or scions, it's going to require a pretty big overhaul, so we better get to it. I'll start by showing you which cards I would take out first. I would remove 1 Waste, Temple of Malady, Temple of Silence, Talisman of Resilience, Talisman of Dominance, Talisman of Impulse, Talisman of Curiosity, Inversion Behemoth, Oblivion Sower, Ulamog's Crusher, Elder Deep Fiend, Artisan of Kozilek, Mutated Cultist, Bismuth Mindrender, Benthic Anomaly, Vile Redeemer, Hideous Taskmaster, Ulamog's Nullifier, Warping Whale, Ugin's Insight, Kozilek's Return, and Suffer the Past. That's 22 cards in total that I recommend removing. Since I'm taking this build into a different direction than a normal Eldrazi deck usually goes, the removal of some creatures that you normally see in an Eldrazi build that didn't advance a more go-wide token-based theme was necessary. On top of that, since some of the creatures I suggested to remove had a higher mana value, the overall average mana cost of the deck comes down, so the removal of a few lands and mana rocks were now possible without affecting the curve. As for the instants and sorceries that I suggested to remove, they just didn't do much in general, and what I replace them with will put a lot more work in, and I think you'll agree when I show you what they are. So you know the game plan, and you know which cards I would remove. Now let me show you which 22 cards I would add back in that will change the overall direction of this precon that I think will be much more fun and just better overall. To start, I'll say that I was pleasantly surprised with the land base, and didn't remove more than necessary, so that means I have no lands to suggest, and I'll go straight to the ramp section first. The only card that I would add here is Chromatic Lantern. As you just saw, I removed all of the talismans that they included in the box, and would replace them all with just this one card. The talismans are good, don't get me wrong, but they only included a few of them, and while at 2 mana they are perfect as a ramp mana rock, Chromatic Lantern is just the king in a 5-color deck. It makes all of your lands able to tap for any color, so all those pain lands now tap for 6 different types of mana without any of the pain. In fact, this would make it so most of your lands can now tap to add 6 different types of mana, and that's quite invaluable. Moving on to the creature section, there are 11 in total that I recommend, and surprise, they're all Eldrazi. The first one I'll recommend is It That Heralds the End. With the removals that I suggested, there are less cards that have a mana value of 7 or greater, but there are still a few, so this card's first ability does still have relevance. However, this recommendation is for the second ability that is an Anthem effect for colorless creatures. Since the new direction will be a go-wide token theme with creatures on the smaller side, this should help make them slightly more effective as a win con. Next up, I would add a trio of bears, and by bears, I mean 2 mana 2/2s. Those creatures are Nest Invader, Propagator Drone, and Basking Broodscale. All 3 of these creatures have the ability to make spawns or scions. One does it when it enters play, one does it as an activated ability that can be done as many times as you'd like, and one does it as a triggered ability when it gets a +1/+1 counter. Obviously, the repeatable ones are better, but there are some benefits to the one-time ETB effects that create the Eldrazi tokens, so there will be more. The next trio of creatures I would add are all 3 drops that provide some nice utility. Those creatures are Flare Drone, Herald of Kozilek, and Catacomb Sifter. Extra damage is always a plus. Reduction in cost for all color spells is better than mana rocks for ramp in most occasions, and the ability to scry when one of your creatures dies can help you get to the cards that you need faster. All of them are very different utility-wise, but all of them are very useful. The next 2 creatures are a pair of 4 drops with almost identical abilities. They are Eyeless Watcher and Kozilek's Predator. As you can see, when both enter, they create 2 Eldrazi tokens that can self-sacrifice to add colorless mana. The differences are that one token is a 0/1 and the other is a 1/1. Outside of that, the creatures themselves have different stats, with one being a 1/1 and the other being a 3/3. All you should really care about, though, is that they create multiple tokens upon entering the battlefield. And finally, the last 2 creatures that I would add are a pair of 5 drops. They are Emerald's Hatcher and Brood Butcher. Yep, more Eldrazi token creation. One creates 3 tokens when entering the battlefield, and the other only creates 1. What makes the Butcher worth it, though, is the activated ability that is decent creature removal. What makes it decent is that it can get rid of indestructible creatures if you have enough mana and creatures to sack to it, which, if everything goes as planned, shouldn't be an issue. Next, I want to show you 1 sorcery and 1 instant that I liked for the new direction. First up is a sorcery called Brood Birthing. You should have a spawn token in play fairly regularly, so it should never be a dead card in your hand. It may happen occasionally, so this is the lowest priority add in this guide. When it works, though, you do get a much-needed boost of Eldrazi tokens that could cascade into other things. And the 1 instant that I would recommend adding is called Abstruse Appropriation. Spot removal that hits anything that's not a land, with the upsides of it having Devoid and the ability to steal what you removed, is perfect no matter who you choose as your commander for this precon. I'm a little disappointed that it wasn't included in the box, if I'm being perfectly honest. Up next are the enchantments. There are 3 that I feel this deck really needs now. The first enchantment is called From Beyond. This is another card that I'm shocked wasn't in the box to begin with. I mean, they included Awakening Zone, so why not this? In my opinion, this is slightly better than Awakening Zone, thanks to its activated ability that lets you tutor for an Eldrazi card, and the fact that the tokens are also 1/1s instead of 0/1s. The second enchantment that I would add back in is called Path of Annihilation. This card's enters the battlefield effect is just a bonus to the fact that it turns all of your Eldrazi into mana dorks that tap for any color. This is a 5-color deck after all, so that could prove to be quite helpful. The life gain part of this card will be incidental, but still nice when it happens. And the last enchantment that I'll recommend is Echoes of Eternity. Ulalek's ability is all about doubling Eldrazi spells and all effects on the stack. This isn't as in-depth, but it's close, and it's all free. With this, you don't need to worry about saving that 2 colorless mana to get the effect, and that could be huge. As a quick reminder, triggered abilities are anything that begins with the words when, whenever, or at. Remember those creatures that I recommended adding earlier? All but one of them had abilities that began with those words. Oh, and would you look at that, so do the other 2 enchantments I just recommended. Seems like this card could put in a lot of work. The last card I'll recommend before I go over combos for the deck is an artifact called Idol of False Gods. I know it seems weird that in a colorless deck I'd only be adding 1 artifact, But that's because Wizards was gracious enough to include most of the ones that you'd want right out of the box. However, they did miss this one. It's a repeatable way to create Eldrazi tokens, albeit a slow one. The cool thing about it is eventually it can become Titan-like, complete with the Annihilator ability. I say Titan-like, though, because it doesn't get any of the other cool abilities that the Titans have, sadly. I guess it really is a false god. Now, this is where things get interesting. While all the changes I just recommended were to turn this precon into a token go-wide strategy, they also can end up creating a lot of combos by adding just a few more cards that fit the new strategy completely. Let me show you what I mean. When you combine Eldrazi Displacer, which came in the box, with Brood Monitor, you can get the following infinites. Creation of 1/1 Eldrazi Scion tokens, enters the battlefield triggers, leaves the battlefield triggers, death triggers, and sacrifice triggers. Those last three infinites are because you'll need to sacrifice the Scions to keep the loop going. How this works, and why you need to do this, is explained in the link at the top of your screen. Sadly, that combo doesn't do much without a third card. Lucky for us, Wizards included Glaring Fleshraker in the box. Now, we can add infinite damage to each opponent to that list of infinites. Additionally, if you were to add a way to double token creation to that combo, you also have a way to make infinite colorless mana. Unfortunately, token doubling cards are monetarily expensive, but I did leave room for one of the cheaper ones that will go along with another combo. That combo uses Spawn Sire of Ulamog, paired with Adrix and Nev Twin Casters, and again, Glaring Fleshraker. How this combo works is explained in the new link that's at the top of your screen, and will also result in the following infinites. Creation of Eldrazi tokens, enters the battlefield triggers, leaves the battlefield triggers, death triggers, sacrifice triggers, and damage to each opponent. That's all well and good, but the really cool thing is that if you swap some of the pieces of those two combos I just showed you around, you can make infinite combos with all of the creatures that I recommended earlier that create 2 or more Eldrazi tokens. For example, Eldrazi Displacer, paired with Eyeless Watcher and Adrix Nev Twin Casters, results in the same infinites as the first combo that I showed you. Basically, there are redundancies built into this upgraded version of the precon now that could result in a combo that wins you the game out of nowhere. But wait, there's more! I'm still one card short of 100, so I figured why not add another card to this list that will not only help the token go wide theme, but also be another infinite combo. Earlier, I recommended that you add Basking Broodscale to the list. Why not pair that with Cathar's Crusade for infinite +1/+1 counters, colorless mana, creature tokens, and infinite enters the battlefield triggers? Also, like a broken record, once again having Glaring Fleshraker in play adds infinite damage to each opponent to that list. I don't know about you, but I love it when adding cards for one strategy incidentally ends up creating a lot of really good synergies and combos like this. And that, my fellow spellslingers, is my upgrade guide for the Modern Horizons 3 Eldrazi Incursion Commander precon. Oh boy, while everything I just showed you won't make this precon a top-tier deck, damn will it make it a hell of a lot of fun to play. I mean, there's so much going on that you should always have something fun and or interesting to do. Whether it's going wide and winning with combat damage, or going infinite with a Fleshraker out, there are plenty of options available if you need to pivot mid-game. The best part about all of this is that for all 22 cards I just showed you, at the time of filming, this will cost you roughly $30. 30. And most of it you can probably find in bulk bins for much cheaper. For all that you get, that's insane if you ask me. The reason why it's so cheap is due to the fact that we don't really get much of a chance to use the colored Eldrazi in Commander. Before this precon, outside of Morophon, there were no options for an Eldrazi Commander with color, and let's be honest, you're more likely to use Morophon for a Sliver deck than you are for an Eldrazi deck. Honestly, I'm happy to see it finally, even though it just feels weird. So, what do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of the changes that I just went over in the comment section. Well, my friends, that's all I've got for you this week. Thanks for watching, but if you're looking for more Magic-related content to watch, please browse through my channel as I'm sure you'll find more of my videos that you'll enjoy. Before you go, though, Please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. This will notify you when I release new content, which I do every Friday, sometimes on Saturdays, and now occasionally on Mondays. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you all very soon.